So, welcome, Mr. Reid, to our show and read the Method International, which is great motivational training. And I believe the automotive sector should really, really pay attention to that more. Uh, so, why don't you tell us a little bit about your training, what you do?
Well, pleasure to be on your show, Richie. I've seen a lot about what you do as well, and I appreciate what you do and all the positive effect that you're bringing to the automotive space yourself. So, thank you very much for being on the show. As far as the Reid method is concerned, the Reid method is basically was derived from the first book I published called The Reid Method: A Blueprint for Achieving Sales Mastery, and that is basically a methodology that I thought was important. That I think it's important for salespeople and sales teams, management, ownership, everybody within a sales organization, such as automotive dealerships, have systems and processes that they adapt. So after returning to the automotive space 8 years ago, 8.5 years ago, after I'd taken a break, I realized that not a lot had changed in terms of the sales process. In fact, it was worse because the automobiles were more ultra modern and high tech. Facilities were bigger and better, but the sales process still lacked. And at the same time, our customers were well advanced and were coming in well prepped and armed with information, but our sales teams were unable to react properly to offer the right solutions for these clients. So I thought, if I'm returning to the automotive space, I'm not going to sit there and wait for ups to walk in the door. I'm going to find ways to create systems and processes that work for me. And I wrote and published the first book, The Reid Method: A Blueprint for Achieving Sales Mastery. And it's based on, psychologically what's involved. It's not just about the transactional selling and the targets and the numbers and month end, which are the automotive space is highly driven by these numbers, but with very little focus on people and processes. And every dealership can say, yeah, we have processes, but how much process do you really have? You have shifts, you have targets, you have how to close a deal, you have touch and desk with managers, you have how to do test drives, but that's the old school way of doing business. Deep down, my system is about understanding first listening to clients intently and what to listen for. And then once you listen to clients, being able to offer is to realize, number one, that they're there to solve a problem. What is the problem they're there to solve? And as a sales individual, to create solutions that will work for the client and to improve their circumstances and to make their lives better, because ultimately they're coming to you to make a major purchase decision. And the last thing I'll share initially here before we get into it is, a lot of times clients will say, oh yeah, we've shopped online, we've been to another dealer, we've done all our research, but it doesn't mean they know everything that they need to know or the best solution for them. So it is the duty of an educated, well-armed sales team to be able to say, hang on a second, maybe, let's take a look at another alternative. Maybe that's not the right way for you to purchase this car. Maybe you should consider leasing, and here's why. So it's the salespeople that are bold enough to not just take a quick deal, which is a cash or finance deal, and being comfortable enough to say, hey, let me show you something that's better for you, and being able to articulate that alternative to the clients to show them why it's better for them.
And I'm glad you brought that up. So, because we're looking for guys like yourself also, right? We have Shop Smart, right? We have Brandon, he's our director of training. So we believe in doing the right thing for the customer.
Absolutely.
Because the customer is the one that does in the future the right thing by the dealer. When you buy a car, right, you're being married to that dealer for a minimum of 3 years.
Correct.
right? So that dealership has to have the training, the right training. In today's world, I've been in the car business a very long time, and I've seen it change from where it was at to how it got in the 2000s to where it's headed. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now it's about the customer. It's about giving the right information to the customer and helping the customer make a buying decision.
Yes.
It's about really information, right? And knowledge. It's both. Because it's much easier if you're sitting in front of a customer and you're giving them knowledge. What you're doing is mentoring them,
Yes.
right? They say it's easier to sell a friend, right? But it's much easier to sell somebody you're mentoring, right? And that's where the product knowledge comes in. That's where the information comes in, and the knowledge sharing with them, how to finance the car, what to do so they don't get hurt. Right?
Yeah.
So that's a key thing. So you're becoming more of a mentor and information, and that process. Automotive auto groups that use that process are very successful, like Brandon Hardison, right? He uses that process in his auto group. He's a corporate trainer for 18 dealership, which is the Jim Ellis Auto Group in Georgia, which is very successful.
Yes.
He's a personal friend of mine, and he does a very good job in that group, right? And the reason for that is because of his process. I know him quite some time now, and we became friends. And he's got a great approach and a great process. He worked for Ford. He also worked for a lot of different groups, and he's always been in the training division, right?
Yeah.
And I noticed that the stores that hire a trainer, whether they hire an outsourced trainer like yourself or they hire a corporate trainer, those are the stores that are making the difference.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to share something with you. You got the Lithia, right? They're unbelievable how they're up on numbers with coronavirus. Well, here's what people don't know. They got about 29 corporate trainers.
Wow.
Okay. So those stores that do the training program are the stores that are going to really get to that next level.
Yes. Yes. I fundamentally believe training is the biggest gap. Traveling across North America, Canada, United States, parts of the Caribbean, where the training is like the last thing. It's kind of like advertising sometimes, where they don't want to do it, but when they do it, they even do it poorly. And when it comes to training, if they're having a successful month, or they think they're having a successful month, they feel they don't need training, or the numbers are okay, they don't need training, and people will just wing it and learn as they go. And there's a fundamental flaw with that, because no sales team will truly ever realize how successful they can be without their teams collectively trained. Because if you empower the individuals, through training, collectively, those, just imagine 10%. If each individual had the training, if everybody had training, or most, and all they're doing is 10% better individually, collectively, that transforms organizations to like unparalleled results and levels. And that's what dealerships miss, is really the big picture. Millions of dollars in profits, or tons of work orders and lots of hours in the service department, and a successful CPO month, or new car and used car month, great. But have you truly realized how good you could be, how much better you could be, if the teams were actually empowered?
Well, what's really good about that, and I'm glad you brought that up. Here's what's good about that. The positive thing is, I'm a trainer. There's two things I do. I'm a trainer and a marketer.
Yes.
Okay, so both things go together. Now I'm going to tell you something. When a dealership is on the rise and doing all kinds of business, the biggest dealerships, what they do is they spend more in marketing.
Hmm.
Because they say you can't create a market, but when the market is there, you can take advantage of it.
Hmm.
Right. So the worst thing to do is when there's no business out there, when it's low, don't spend the money in marketing because all you're doing is going to hit diminishing returns.
Hmm.
Well, guess what? In the training business, it's the same way. The more business you're doing, right, the more training you want to do. And let me tell you why. Because we've noticed the more traffic you have in a showroom, the less your closing ratio is. The less traffic, the higher your closing ratio is. So, that being said, that's telling you that you need training.
Yeah.
Why? Because when there's traffic, salespeople, every salesperson is the path of least resistance.
Yeah.
Okay. The easy stuff. That's what we want, right? Nobody knows how to, we don't know how to work hard unless we've been trained and have that structure, right? So that being said, every customer that comes in, you work to death. You really do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
Well, when you are busy, your salespeople don't have that because humans go by habits,
Hmm.
right? So if you make it a habit for them to take the deal from A to Z, then that happens. Also, with training, what do you create? You create the B12 in the automotive space, which is called B12 is enthusiasm. And the only way you're going to get that enthusiasm is by the learning curve. So, that being said, when it's busy, that's when you spend money in training and spend money in marketing. Now, when you spend it in both areas, you're going to dominate your market. That's
Yes.
why major auto groups have a corporate trainer because they don't want to train once a month. They
Yeah.
want to train every single day. And
Yeah.
that's what they have. That's the advantage they have over their competitors. You look
Hmm.
at AutoNation, you look at Sonic, you look at, Lithia, you look at all, and you look at Penske, they all doing training every day.
Yeah. It's pretty
Just like we
consistent.
take a shower, take a shower every day, don't you? So why not get trained every day? Why
Yeah.
not train your people every day?
Yeah. No, absolutely. So there's something you said there about marketing and advertising, which resonates with me. And I created a couple of courses, one called the Least Performance Blueprint, and the other is Sales Mindset Principles, both focused fundamentally on one, Sales Mindset Principles, focused on empowering the individual sales reps and management team to realize their full potential. And two, the Least Performance Blueprint or LPB course is designed for dealerships to recognize the business that's actually there within without having to spend any extra or a significantly less amount of marketing dollars. So one of the questions I get a lot from dealerships lately is, how do I get more people through the front door? How do I get more traffic? How do we increase traffic? Well, I think the first question they should ask is, how do we stop losing more through the back door? Because you're constantly losing clients through the back door because you're not focused enough on your existing portfolio of clients, both lease, finance, and cash. And there are training systems out there, especially the ones that I've created, that focus heavily on increasing your base. So the people that you already have in your database, we teach how to keep more of them longer into multiple vehicles. So instead of financing a vehicle every 6-7 years, we're flipping them into leases where you're having 2-3 leases in that same time. Plus, you're getting 2 to 3 pre-owned vehicles, certified pre-owned vehicles. Now that's 6 cars in 6 years. Now you're getting, plus those people may have trade-ins as well. You're getting 6 to 7 work orders. You're getting parts business. You're getting F&I business over and over again, by focusing on a lot of the clients. And I've done all these spreadsheets. I mean, I have all the numbers here that shows the return in year 1, 2, 3 as to how this affects a dealership. So before dealers really need to start going out and spending money to bring traffic in, what's the point of bringing the traffic in droves if they're also leaving through the back door in droves? So we need to stop the bleed-in first by educating the staff how to retain the existing clientele, to have them become constant repeat clients. And this is what my system does. And that's less stress on everybody, right? It's the people you get to know. They're not just buying 1, 2, 3 cars. I have clients who are on 8, 9, 10 cars. And here is what fundamentally happens. These clients, once they become conditioned to the process that you've created, they don't want to go anywhere else. They can't be bothered with starting a new relationship at other dealerships because it's a pain in the butt. And you know how people love buying cars, which, they don't. I mean, I'm being sarcastic. So they don't want to go through this over and over again. What they prefer is to have a relationship built with a particular salesperson that even if the brand that they're looking for, that salesperson or that dealership doesn't sell, they'll, like all my clients will even reach out to me. Even today, somebody, I'm with Lexus as well. They'll reach out to me and say, oh, I'm looking for a Mercedes. Do you know anybody? All these transactions go through you as a salesperson. So at least, number one, you get the option to flip them to your product. Or number two, you get the option to refer to the best person, right? So it really is, if you want to grow dealerships and grow profitability exponentially and have your sales teams less stressed and your management team less stressed, it's to grow and build the relationships with more of the people that you already have in your database. And that's what I teach largely. And then from there, you also take on new. So there's new people coming through the door, but you're also focused on retaining everybody that you have. So your base and your database keeps growing, exponentially rather than just, slightly a little bit.
And I'm glad you brought that up because we've been working for quite some time, maybe a couple of years, and people don't like to buy a car because of the buying process. Right? They want to buy a car, but the buying process is them. So why not make a destination out of your dealership?
Absolutely.
Right? So I'm going to give you a perfect example. Rockville Mercedes in New York. He's made that dealership a destination, right? Is outselling every Benz store, basically, and is doing tremendous amount of business and service. He's got a playground there for kids. He's got, they provide a deli there, all kinds of stuff, making it into a destination. When you make something a destination, when the customer needs a vehicle, they're not going to think twice of going. Now, when they walk in there, they feel like they're at home. They feel comfortable, okay? There's a few other stores that are doing that. The Sonic organization, I believe, has a store in Louisiana or Alabama that has that same process, right? Because we know that people don't like to go into a dealership to buy a car. But once they feel comfortable in that dealership and it's something like a destination, now what happens is you're going to close more deals than ever. We have ShopSmart, right? So it's a little bit like the Auto Traders and the True Car and that. We got a lot of cars in inventory. What we do there is we sell you leads. No risk to the dealership. 100 leads. You want 100 leads? I get you 100 leads with your stock numbers, your vehicles. We're not a third-party lead gen, right? We do marketing. And if you look at ShopSmart after we hang up, just take a look at it. We have, over 6 million cars in stock, right?
Wow.
Dealerships. Yeah. And what we do is your stock number and your vehicle, okay? And not credit. It's based on the car. period, based on your inventory. That's how we do it.
Nice.
What we do is we spend the money in marketing. So it takes us 100 leads. It probably take us 5 to 7 days to fill the order, right? So that's what we know how to do. So we also know how to do training with our trainers, right? So because when a dealership doesn't hit 15% delivery ratio, 15 cars minimum with an average gross of about $3,800, we right away do a complimentary training for them on Zoom, right?
Wow.
We inspect it, right? So that's what we do. We have a dealer directory there. Every dealer across the country is on there. So we have a lot of stuff on there. We also have Kelly Blue Book, right? The price advisory in that. And we got some sort of a strategic partnership with Kelly Blue Book and Dealer Track. So these are the things that we do. And we really want to get the minimum at 15% delivery ratio because our leads bring more information than anything. We're all about data driven, right? So the form comes in real simple, but then we send out a sales funnel and ask questions. Are you trading in a car? Are you going to be leasing or financing? All the qualifying questions. So now it has all these points of that information, right? So that being said that's what we do, but we know that the automotive space has that problem, where there's a lot of loose ends. And that's where the training comes in.
Yeah. So you touched on the relationship possibilities, and this is one of the biggest points of my success and largely has afforded me the opportunity to have expanded outside of having to work at a dealership full time and still produce the most amount of deals. So, you take, for example, June, delivered 21 vehicles, but I only work 14 days a month. And the reason I can do that, number one, I'm using a system that I've developed. Number two, half of these 21 and probably more than half are relationship deals. These clients don't even have to come. So a lot of the deals that I do, and what happens when you build this portfolio and you've dealt with these clients once or twice, deal making becomes simple. Okay. And if you simplify their lives, you're their guy or gal for a long time.
Forever. Yep.
Right. They don't. Simplicity is what they want. Because first you're solving the problem of time. So that's the biggest issue today in everybody's lives. Right. So if you take that pain away of having to come into the dealership to get numbers, to do this, to do that, go back and forth, you're their hero. And then if you send them good, informative information, nothing, you don't have to write stories. You have, I put things in bullet point, which is the easiest thing, that they can read it on their smartphone. So if they're out busy and it's in bullet point, this is what you get, A, B, C, D, E. All you have to do is this, and, get me this information. You tell them what to do. You say, here's how I've worked it out. And one of the ways I train is, when you send emails and you communicate with clients via text or however they want to communicate, which is another thing that salespeople are trained to do or should be doing these days, is communicate on the client's level, is basically just to get to the point. Just say here and not be afraid to say, here is the solution I think is best for you, or here is how I think we should structure the deal. Given your opinion, because if you're the professional in the space, just like when you go to the doctor or the dentist, you're trusting their professionalism to give you the right recommendations. So when clients come to you in the automotive sales space, they are not used to. They think it's going to be a battle because of the stigma and and their past experiences, but you'll shock them with, number one, giving them different alternatives and asking the right questions. And you'll shock them by giving them suggestions and recommendations as a professional would.
because right now we got Frederick Subprime here, who's a really good friend of mine.
Hello, Frederick.
He's amazing, and you know him, right?
I'm probably connected with him. I'll have to check him out right
He's
after.
amazing. I mean, he's taken the store in the middle of coronavirus when it was really bad out there. I mean, he's delivering 100 pre-owned vehicles. He's in a
Wow.
store,
Congratulations, Frederick.
and they got another store doing the same thing. Why? Because they're so positive. They're so motivated. They're so good at what they do. I call it Frederick and even Lou. I think both of them are caliber of a dealer because they don't stop. So they feed off the enthusiasm.
Mm-hmm.
And that's bringing their business to the next level.
Yeah.
They got a podcast, which is very interesting. It's called Car Guy Cafe.
I'll check it out, Frederick.
Okay, but it's really, really good. So and some guys are out there doing that, but there's more and more guys that need our help and our assistance. And that's why I started the lead gen business. I didn't start it to sell them leads. I actually started to help them and put it together where it's even co-opable and I can train dealerships. Right? Because if you buy a lead from me, you're getting co-opable co-op because it's digital, right? So why not do training?
Absolutely.
Right? So now they don't need to spend that kind of money. I have analytics, right? Through Clickables, another company that we have, which is a public company. So we have all the analytics and Look Smart, right? Of what dealers are spending. They spend about $125 for an inquiry. All right. And it's not a lead yet.
Wow.
I give them a qualified lead with I send them already the first email, and all this information comes in: trade, financing, leasing, credit score. And you ask them for a credit score and they put it on. Some of them say, I don't know. We don't run credit. And then we also ask them their household income, how long at the job, how long at the residency, do they own their home? We ask them all these questions. Right? Now you got a lead, which we call it an opportunity. Because if that customer fills out that information, that's a lead.
Yes.
I lose 50% of the inquiries that they hit unsubscribe or I'm not interested no more. So we really, really nurture that.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where the training comes in, because even like that, they come into the showroom and we also have data. You know, Richie Bello is a lead. Okay. They tell me, well, Richie, he didn't buy a car. Then I run a report of DMV. And now I know that Richie Bello registered a car with your same type of vehicle in another dealership and your competitors. Now, what is that telling me?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm very big with data. I'm very big with big data. So we have different services that we use and check if that customer registered a car. So when that dealer tells me at the end of the month, Richie, okay, let me show you something. Boom. You got 22 people that walked into your dealership that register the same brand. If it's a Honda, the same Honda that they want
somewhere else,
but in another dealership. Now that's something for you to look at.
That's internal. That's philosophy. That's training.
Right.
That's processes.
That whole process that we have with ShopSmart, it's very important how good it is. Right. So now we know. Right.
Yeah.
So the problem with that process is I don't want stores to be at 15%, because if they do it right, I'm going to get them to 20%. If they hire the trainers, if they do all the right things, then I'm going to make them a ShopSmart certified dealership.
Got you.
Right. So now there's a lot more for them. right? If
Yes.
they go through the whole process, because you know what? It's not my process. It's Brandon's process. It's what dealerships are doing today, the big automotive groups.
Mhm.
Everything today, you got to be transparent, especially with coronavirus and you going for automotive digital retailing. Forget about SEO and all that stuff. That's gonna give you, these are the leads that's gonna give you.
Mhm.
I'm
Mhm.
on it. Okay, I see it. Okay. Now I apply that I want a car, right? My wife comes, says, I tell her, I want to get a car. She says, Richie, we can't afford that right now.
Yeah.
Let's wait. So that's when the dealership calls and says, let's make an appointment. You know what? I can't do it right now. With having the digital marketing, how we have it, where we send out an email, right, congratulating them on their new purchase for the car, which is a very positive approach. Now they come in and now they fill out the information. Because if you only have their name, their phone number, their email address, the car make and model, that's not really, I don't consider that I don't consider that a lead. I consider that an inquiry. So now
Yeah.
it's got to convert from there. And training is key for my program to be very, very successful. I'm an automotive vendor. If I don't train my dealers, my product is no good.
Absolutely, and I see that a lot. And those are two things you just touched on. And I recently held a panel discussion, an international panel discussion with folks from the UK, US, and Canada on automotive dealership culture. So that's one, which I'll touch on this in a second. But earlier you were speaking about the cost of an inquiry at about $125. And again, this is where a lot of dealerships are dropping the ball and are chasing these new inquiries and new leads, both, digitally in any which way they possibly can get this new traffic, where for $2 instead of 125, you can actually, with the right message, drive a lot of your existing clients back in to purchase cars rather than to other dealerships. And you were speaking earlier about how many leads they initially get that end up being registered buying or leasing the same brand at other dealerships. And that again comes down to process. So when these customers are walking into dealerships, they're if you're losing that many deals, or if you're not retaining more than 50% of your existing portfolio, at least turning them once or twice, there's a fundamental problem with your system, your philosophy, your management structure, your sales process, how the sales teams value who's coming in the door, who's calling on the phone, who's emailing. Today, an email, I'm getting emails right now as we speak of clients I need to get back to with quotes and proposals today. So we need to engage. We need to teach our sales teams that, number one, the electronic lead, whether it's an email response, whether it's a digital, whether it's phone, whether it's text. I mean, I've sold cars on the text on my cell phone to the same people, because salespeople need to understand that all different clients are in different circumstances. And what you're doing is catering your service to their personal circumstance. So, for example, one of my clients, she's a restaurant manager. She doesn't have time to sit down and send an email or to make a phone call. We've now done 3 deals just on the text. Her driver's license, her insurance, everything over the text, because she has the phone with her wherever she goes. But she's not going to take a break to sit down to take a call or to send an email, right? Most dealerships are going to say, no, get her on the phone, or get the trade in that we can look at it. We need to see the trade. And that's not going to work for everybody anymore. So we need to develop the flexibility to understand the client's needs, what their circumstances are, by asking the right questions, and then crafting the solution to meet the client halfway to solve that problem. So the problem, you're solving the time issue so they don't have to come back and forth. You're providing them with the information. You're just giving it to them straight. No negotiations. I rarely negotiate with my clients, rarely negotiate with my clients. And that's because When you take the information in and you hear and you listen what they're looking for, you can craft solutions that actually give them more than they're looking for. And it's about how you communicate. Even if you're not giving them more, but the way you communicate, makes it so simple. The feedback I get a lot is, Everold, you make it so simple. You keep it so simple. I'm like, yeah, but why complicate it?
Right. It is simple.
Why complicate it? Why make everybody get stressed to buy a car over $10 a month? Like, why? Right? So there's ways to simplify it, significantly reduce the stress, empower your sales team to be more creative at offering solutions, not being afraid to say, no, let me show you an alternative, if they're equipped to do so. And that's another thing too with sales teams. And trust me, this is happening in today's world, because I've delivered my courses in many dealerships where at the management level, they can't handle it, and they're asking me to simplify it, because so how are they supposed to teach and coach sales reps if they don't even understand, the benefits?
Right. Train the trainer.
Yeah, exactly. It's difficult.
If you don't train the trainer, you got problems.
You got the problems. And we need to just admit what our business is. Our business is largely filled with sales managers and finance managers in positions that they've earned based on their tenure a lot within a dealership. They've been promoted from within, which is totally fine, but they've not been trained properly. And your time at a dealership, your tenure at a dealership does not equate to having the right type of experience or level of experience. You can get it, but time alone and amount of deals worked alone doesn't equate to you becoming a manager. And fundamentally, this is a huge problem in dealerships where, according to the Jim Collins book, Good to Great, too many dealerships don't have the right people in the right positions, right? And if it's a body that can sell and they feel that they're hitting their targets, they don't put people in the right seats on the bus.
You know what? I'm glad you brought that up, because that's what happens.
Yeah.
They have a guy that's delivering 40 cars a month. They decide to make him a general manager or a sales manager. Let me tell you, the guy that does 40 cars a month is not necessarily a leader.
That's right.
He just cares about him. I sold a lot of cars. They made me a manager. I really, really was not a good manager. Okay, because I was not trained to do that. And I just cared about me. The guys that do their 15 or 20 cars that are average or maybe low, they don't sell a lot of cars. Those guys are good managers. You know why? They're not selling a lot, right? The reason is because they're always worried about what the team members are doing, helping them. Oh, I'll get you the keys. I'll get you that. That's a leader. Okay, so that's the thing. And they promote the wrong people.
Yeah.
It's
or they'll promote
to promote a closer.
Yeah.
But salespeople are a nightmare. We're not really good at following up, at paying attention.
Oh, that's a whole other show, a follow-up.
Right. But I'm saying they promote the wrong people. Yeah. I saw a dealership promote a 40 car a month guy. He ruined him. So the guy quit and went to another store and is delivering 50 cars now a month.
Yeah. And I've seen this happen a lot.
Managers.
Yeah. But that happens for two reasons. Like, you're right. All great salespeople are not great managers. As a matter of fact, most great salespeople are not great managers.
I'm not.
And if you put them in the position as a manager, you have to get them training, because the philosophy is different. It's not about how, yes, ultimately you're going to sell more cars, but it's about leadership, mentoring and leadership. And when you say mentor the rest of your sales team and lead the rest of your sales team and show leadership examples, it's not what they want. They don't want that responsibility, or they can't handle it. So that's where you're setting them up to fail. So dealerships should just not, like, it's very important. And I've seen this happen. And conversely, where we've had salespeople that sales team members that have been with us 8, 9, 10 years, and then they resign and go somewhere else because, they're getting a better opportunity. And if the dealership simply replaces that long-term salesperson with 1 or 2 more people, and they're still meeting their targets, they think the problem is solved. Okay, well, John is gone, but we have a lady and a guy here fill in the gap, and we're still selling the same amount of cars. In fact, we're selling 1 or 2 more cars. And they believe that this has solved the problem because all they're focusing on is the numbers at the end of each month. Did we meet our target? Did we meet our gross target? How many new did we sell? And not on the right components now, which is people, right? So it's very important not only to put the right people in the right seats on the bus, but it's very important to treat those people as your number one priority. The sales your teams within your dealerships, and I've seen this play out right now today because of COVID, right? Where the dealerships that are having the most success also are the dealerships that looked after their team, not just the salespeople, but everybody in their teams the best. They didn't throw them to the wolves. They didn't say, okay, you're on your own. Come back when COVID's over. I know dealerships that stepped up, not just offered financial support, but offered real moral support and, people support. Like, how is your family? How are things? How are you handling it? Checked in on their team members, letting them know. I had one gentleman on my show recently. He's CEO of Badger Maps, Stephen Benson. And he said, Everold, we did a survey with our team and 90% of his team wanted to come back to work, didn't want to stay home. Not because they don't want to stay home. Maybe some of them don't, but they just missed the team camaraderie. They just missed being a part of work, of the environment. How many dealerships can say that their sales teams, that 90% of your entire team were chomping at the bit to come back to work, right? And why? And if so, you should do that. You could do that survey, almost anonymously. Nobody needs to know who voted, and just see. And it's very interesting. It's it tells a lot. But I fundamentally believe dealerships take on the psychology of the owner or leader. That's number one. So if the owner or leadership feels, okay, as long as we hit targets, we don't need to do this. We'll keep doing things the old school way. Advertise, market, get people through the front door like crazy. Focus on our, how many hours per RO. Focus on targets. Focus on CSI. All important things. But those are the results. And those results are driven by people. What we need to do is focus on people, making people better, making people more accountable, making people feel a part of the process. Right. If they feel they're a part of the process, your business will grow exponentially. Show them that there are different ways to do it. The way that auto sales is done is simply just not the way I do it. And I don't want to do it the old-fashioned way.
Correct. And me either. Yeah. But that being said, thank you so much, Mr. Reid. I want to bring you back probably on one of my other shows, probably the Automotive Digital Retail, because you're good at that.
Thank you.
And I really enjoyed, and I'm honored that you were able to come to our show, because I know you're very busy.
I try to be.
all the time. I mean, your scheduling is crazy. Yes. But I want to really thank you from the bottom of my heart. And thank you so much for you spending your precious time with us, because the one thing that we value is time.
Absolutely.
Something we can't replace. Money we can replace, time we can't replace.
Yes.
So again, we want to thank you so much for your time today, and we look forward in doing something together. Thank you so much, Mr. Reid.
And Mr. Bello, it was an honor as well, and I'm great to meet you, sir. And to your listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care.